So hi everyone, welcome to Thrive with Bhati, day 2 of our conference. As we all know, this was a special Women's Day conference to empower South Asian immigrant women, specifically focused on the immigrant experiences in US and how we elevate those, how we bring in mentors and guides from diverse walks of life, be it technology, be it artistic, be it entrepreneurship, and be it holistic health advice or also reproductive health for women. So day 1 was all filled with amazing events on fireside chats and panel discussions and speeches coming from all these walks of life, uniting together and presenting to us how this is a common pattern and how things can actually be improved and how we can become more resilient. And on day 2, today we are going to focus on diving deeper into a specific topic. For example, talking about the journey of a professor in AI, talking about how do we build personal branding, talking about how do we bring in that mindfulness in our daily busy lives, and many, many more topics. But today's theme is more interactive. Yesterday, folks who joined us via Zoom, they were joining a webinar, so they couldn't exactly, interact themselves. Today, we all have that option, which is the beauty of going into dive deeper sessions. I'm going to start with a quick recap of day 1 from yesterday. Our entire team has been working super hard to bring this event about. And yesterday we saw it all happen, in person. Just a quick recap of what it was about, and then I'm going to share some pictures with you. So, this is what day 1 and day 2, the panel of an entire Thrive with Bhati looks like. We had Saundarya, Magda, Sunita, Preeti, Kirti, Nitya, Chandrai, Priyadarshini, all of these folks joining yesterday. We also had Dr. Kathleen Lin join us yesterday at the event in person. And as you can see from their descriptions here, the areas were highly focused on entrepreneurship, being a CEO, being an advisor, being an engineering leader, and being an artist, a renowned artist and a CEO at the same time. And all of them sharing their vulnerable and valuable insights from their lives, their journeys, unfiltered with us and answering our questions. And it was amazing to see all of the mentors join in and share their honest reviews and opinions about life in US, life as an immigrant in US, and how it can be elevated. And moving on to the sponsors for the event. The event we actually carried out yesterday has been a journey of more than 45 days, nonstop working in the background with a team of about 17 people and volunteers around 20 to 25 just for the event yesterday and today. And we also had valuable sponsors who contributed to fueling the mission for Vahati itself. Our first sponsor, Asians at Amazon, helped us bring this event about in our inaugural Seattle Amazon building. And then it was powered by Reproductive Medicine Associates, which is specialized in the women's fertility and reproductive mechanisms. And we had Dr. Kathleen join us yesterday from this clinic and educate us on various different things to keep in mind when we are considering egg freezing by age groups, by the quality of our eggs, and so on and so forth. She will also be hosting a follow-up event along with Vahati, where we will dive deep into lots of quality questions we gathered from that event and make sure that we answer them in depth. We also have a workshop sponsor, Sankhparth, coming in today. That is about nervous system coaching. We also had a lot of community partners. Strength Access is physical fitness training in Bellevue, Seattle. And VPurpose is an AI tech-based solution for nonprofits, small businesses, which helps them bring their businesses about in an accelerated and streamlined way. Mind Body Zone has been around for, I guess, more than 18 years at this point, and in the spectrum of mindfulness and awareness between the mind and the body, offering different sessions and classes. We also have them coming in later today. We had a music performance from Mehfil X Mehfil Nights, who are super, super popular in Seattle for their intimate music nights, mehfil nights, and our community partner, Unshackled Green Card Incorporation, who is by far the largest community of immigrants I know of, educating immigrants on visa and their options while they navigate life in US. We are also supported by Future Force, another social impact-based organization in Seattle. They've been our greatest support from day one, along with our board members and advisory members, and they drive projects which are specifically focused on creating social impact. So it was an amazing collaboration and amazing support coming in from so many different organizations, and Vahati is thankful and grateful to have all of this support brought in such a short time since we started. I'm going to go real quick on the agenda. So we had a keynote which was Call to Strength for South Asian expat women. We also had panel discussion around resilience and entrepreneurship. As we know, there are so many ups and downs in the whole journey of entrepreneurship, and a high risk, high reward mechanism. Preeti and Sunita filled us in on how their journey looked like back in the days when they started and how it looks like today. Then we also had a talk about perceptions versus perspectives. And Magda helped us understand, helped us be educated on how our greatest ally is already inside of us. We don't need to keep looking outside and be influenced by the forces outside at all times. We need to introspect, retrospect, and bring the strength from within us. After that, we also had a fireside chat from a multifaceted creative journey. And by multifaceted, I truly mean it. We had Chandrai Bhattacharya join us, who is a renowned Kathak dancer, who's also CEO at Virtually. And she was filling us in on her early days of struggle and how she persevered through it, and how her mindset and confidence level essentially changed through all that journey, and how she's grateful about that today. It was amazing to hear her insights being so authentic and vulnerable in a room full of people, and also knowing that the leaders and mentors we look up to have been through their journeys and things they've learned. It was a great experience hearing it from them. We also had Saundarya join us from Australia virtually, who shared her rising through immigration challenges story. So the story behind her being in US, going to India, getting an O1 visa, and then continuing her founder and author journey today. It's inspirational to hear it from her on how she started as an engineer and then pivoted to being a founder and an author, and share her real insights about how we get the basics wrong, most of us, and then we try to shoot for high ambitions, and how going back to those insights has helped us and helped her. We had a panel discussion on breaking barriers in technology leadership by Nitya, Priyadarshini, and Kirti Surya. All of the amazing leaders been in the industry for more than 15 to 20 years each, and everyone sharing their honest opinions and thoughts about what does it mean to be vulnerable, even when you are in a tech lead role, or even when you are in an executive role, and how being vulnerable is different from being weak. In fact, it shows a sign of courage and strength. We also talked about lots of open-ended topics like dress for success. Is that a myth or is that true? We talked about how does career ladder look like in tech, and what were their experiences back when they started, and how does it look like today, given all the recent DEI shifts we've had in respective corporate offices. After that, we had a panel discussion with Dr. Kathleen Lin, who is an award-winning reproductive endocrinologist since 2018. And she's part of the RMA Fertility Clinic now in Seattle and Bellevue. And she was educating us on the do's and don'ts of egg freezing, how to make it happen successfully, what are the common traits or unknowns that South Asian women have in US, having worked with more than 2,000 patients in the past 2 to 3 years herself. She's had an extensive understanding of the culturally adept conversations or gaps we have in South Asian women and how to fill those in. And the day ended with a beautiful music conference, beautiful music concert with Mehfil Nights and Mehfil X, with Tejas joining us from their team. Last but not the least, I want to share some beautiful, beautiful moments from yesterday's event. I have some pictures fresh coming in from our Seattle journey, and later we will also share some pictures from our California chapter that just started today. So Seattle was our inaugural event. Seattle is also the headquarters of Vahati, and we had all the panelists and speakers, moderators, and more than an audience of 100 people join us in the conference room yesterday at Seattle. Some beautiful moments. This is where Preeti and Sunita were sharing their journey in entrepreneurship and also talking about the confidence and mindset, how that plays a role, how tenacity and perseverance plays a role. We had Kirti join us from Portland. She drove all the way from Portland to support us for the tech panel. We also had Deepti, who is our team member and has been the biggest sponsorship and partnership and bringing in the mentors advocate in Vahati. I also want to share real quick some other moments. We had Magda. Magda joined us as a holistic health advisor to educate people on the difference of perceptions and perspectives and how that affects our mental health as well. What's the connection between biology and psychology in that space? These are some beautiful moments we captured from yesterday's event. We had Chandrei join us on the right side of the picture here. She is the Kathak dancer and also CEO at Virtually, bringing in amazing events virtually all over different regions. We had Nitya join us for the tech panel as well, ending up with a beautiful team picture over here. We had many, many amazing volunteers who brought this event to life yesterday, and I'm thankful and grateful for all their support. It means a lot. It was a very smooth event yesterday with all the participants and volunteers helping each other out. And to end with the size of the group we had at the end of the day, with all the supporters, with all the participants and volunteers, it was just amazingly incredible to see everyone come together and happily share the space with other folks, chat with other folks, and uplift each other. So with that being said, I'm gonna pause here. I have so many more things to say. At the same time, now is the time for Dr. Suma Bhat to join us and start with her journey. I'm gonna pause on my screen share. Let me know when you can see me back. Okay. And I want to actually start with a quick introduction for our first ever discussion and speaker presentation today with Suma Bhat. Suma is an assistant professor in electrical and computer engineering at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, with an appointment in the Faculty of Computer Science at Princeton University. Her innovative work bridges natural language processing, NLP, and human AI interaction, focusing on enhancing social aspects of language understanding and developing educational tools through interdisciplinary collaborations with physicians and social scientists. Recognized for excellence in research and teaching, Suma has earned honors such as the Ronald Pratt Outstanding Teaching Award and Beckman Postdoctoral Fellowship. She's a polymath beyond academia. She speaks 12 languages at varying proficiency levels. Kudos to you, Suma. I don't know how you do that. And she nurtures a passion for sustainable living through vegetable gardening. So again, I think a common pattern I see with all the mentors joining us is how they're not only excelling at the things they do, but even outside of their day job or work, how they've nurtured different passions and different creative journeys. And one thing that keeps coming back is everyone sharing how having that multifaceted way of life also actually contributes back to the proficiency of what we do on a daily basis. So Suma, Dr. Suma, I hand this over to you, and please take away. I'm going to mute everyone else, including myself now, and you will be able to present in the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Surbi. Thank you, Sandhya and Anu, for coordinating this, for inviting me here. This is such an amazing event to see so many of us come together here for a common cause. And the diversity is just amazing. And I've just put together a small, just a collection of slides, but I think I'm going to be speaking through most of it. So, I don't have much content here, but I just wanted to say something about the title that I chose, which sort of speaks hand in hand with Vahati, the name that we chose for this organization. Uh, Vaha in Sanskrit, the root is to flow. And here I just wanted to tie the different topics that you guys suggested into this bundle title, which is flow. How do we flow through challenges? And for me, I just want to lay out some of the challenges, quote unquote challenges that I had, and how I flowed through them. I flowed through them and flew over them. And so here I am, just categorizing the broad themes of today of my talk here. And then there'll be some overlap, not necessarily mutually exclusive, but here I go. So part of my early memories in life include thinking how I would call my mom Amma, while people around me called their mothers Mama. I was born and raised in part in Venezuela, about 150 degrees on the other side from India. And India is where my parents grew up. So I would constantly traverse these two worlds, India and Venezuela, whose only intersection was my parents. And so my father was a faculty member at a famous university in Venezuela, which is what took us there. And Indians were very, very few in number, about countable with the two hands. And you can imagine this was a monolingual Spanish environment with very few Indians. The Consul General of India in Venezuela would write us handwritten Diwali greeting cards. This was this was back then. So fast forward a few years, when my parents decided, that they should raise us amidst the rich heritage in which they grew up. So we moved to India. So that's the arrow here that I show, where we moved from Venezuela to India to be raised in Karnataka, where I went to school, and I found myself in a classroom where I was grappling with a culture that was at the same time alien and familiar. The familiarity was that my classmates looked like me, and with the similar colored hair like me, skin color like me, something that was totally different. I was a minority in a classroom. As you all can imagine, right? A child has a very different way of looking through this, coping with this, and somehow adapting to this environment. What was alien to me, though, was that I was learning as part of my curriculum Sanskritam, English, Kannada, Hindi, and then people around me. I grew up in the Manipal area, Manipal in Karnataka, where people speak Tulu and Konkani around me, right? So this is such a rich polylingual environment. And here I was, a monolingual Spanish speaker. It was just, it was simply stated, it was a very difficult time. But the adapting part of me said, hey, you know what? You can do it. Uh, well, I was young enough to. I was 10 by the time I went to the school, and well, I adapted. It was by immersion. Um, Little by little, the Spanish receded, and I was speaking Kannada, switching to all these languages in a curricular environment. And very soon we found ourselves enrolled in different extracurricular activities, music, dance, etc., and etc. And frankly speaking, I'm not sure what the counterfactual would have been. Had we remained in Venezuela, what would have happened? However, having chosen to live in India, I found myself immersed in STEM subjects. I really enjoyed doing math, doing science, and so on. And I chose to pursue the science track, which we all do, right? Coming from India, we choose a track, whether it's humanities, be it science or commerce. That happens late in secondary school. And here I was choosing science. Eventually, this took me to the Indian Institute of Science, where I was pursuing a Master of Engineering degree in electrical engineering. Years later, I emigrated a second time to another culture, one that we are all familiar with, one that has now become my karma bhumi. This is not too far from my Janma bhumi, my birthplace in Venezuela. So this is North America in the United States. Um, and here, when I talk about the multiple cultures, I talk about the multiplicity of human cultures. As we saw, the culture in Venezuela with the Spanish immigrants. Venezuela is a younger country compared to the United States in terms of immigrants from Spain who came, conquered, and subdued the natives, and they became the rulers of Venezuela. So moving from that culture to the rich heritage of India, and then moving to Venezuela, to the United States, which has a very, very different culture, economically, meritocratically, academically, industrially, in all these spheres. And then I want to talk about the disciplinary cultures. So from basic sciences, which is what I really enjoyed. I enjoyed doing physics, I enjoyed math, to engineering, which was, where we talk about trade-offs, we talk about speed, performance, rather than precision, and foundational explanations of the world around us, right? Which is what happens in sciences. Here I was thinking about engineering. And by then, my love for languages was beginning to show itself. So not only was I raised in a polylingual environment, I enrolled myself in a German class. And then when I moved to the Bay Area, working with Motorola, I enrolled in a French lesson and so on. And then I said, you know what? I gave up my job at Motorola and I said, I'm at the university. My husband was a PhD student at UC Berkeley. And I said, I think I should make use of this academic environment. And I enrolled in a master's program, this time in linguistics. And here again, this was a disciplinary culture that is so different from what I had seen until then. As we all know, growing up in India, the humanistic discipline, the humanities, do not ever cross with the engineering discipline or the STEM disciplines. But I found myself really enjoying this crossover to humanities in the 2 years of my master's program, which somehow brought me a foundation to the few languages that I spoke. And guess what? This was also the time when Google came to be formed as a company, and they were into processing natural language, right? Search, search was powered by this intent to process natural language, the quest for information. And of course, organizing documents, indexing them, all of this involved processing natural language. And so this was the time when also natural language processing came to be an engineering discipline. And of course, AI was just, when I was doing my master's, we had AI as a subject, which I took. And that's when we studied Boltzmann machines and the first order logic. Of course, Boltzmann machine is what brought this year's Nobel Prize in physics, right? And we learned Hopfield network. So all of this was foundational AI that we were learning, but nothing as big as the transformation that AI has seen through the years now. So here I was in a crossover or a flow through disciplinary cultures as well. And this was also the time when I met my Suhrit. Suhrit in Sanskrit to mean a good friend, someone who shares your thoughts, your intellectual interests. And this was someone who became my best friend for life, my husband. And he is an engineer by training, but he also embodies his penchant for the classical Sanskrit language. He really enjoys poetry, and then both of us just enjoy Sanskrit, reading Sanskrit, and just talking about all the poetry, all the imagery, all the figurative language that happens, and how many of these things are so universal that they just transcend time, and they're so relevant even today. So that is the humanistic aspect that we bring to our lives that I just enjoy doing. And this is something that has brought me through AI. And so from the intro to AI that we saw during my master's to through my penchant for languages, that brought me to do a PhD in natural language processing, where we work with languages and adapting computationally linguistic processes to be processed using algorithms. So this was a very nice confluence of algorithms, the understanding of language, linguistic processes, all together in my PhD, which is just fantastic. And then I said, you know what? I've done so much, and so let me take on a faculty position, which comes so naturally to me as a way to do research, to interact with the young minds in a classroom setting, to teach them something that is totally new. So why is this new? Well, we've all learned, the domain, the disciplines of science, of humanities, etc. But these have been handed over to us, right? So this is something that we went through even in high school. However, AI is so new that we are now creating the curriculum for undergraduates, but but there is a gap in instruction when it comes to high school. We don't see much of AI in high school and in middle school and lower levels. And that has brought me to social entrepreneurship, where I said, let me introduce high school students to this fantastic world of data science and AI. And that is what brought me and my master's classmates. So we founded Dia Research, a nonprofit organization where we conduct summer camps that introduce students to programming, data science, and AI. And then, of course, my research, as was mentioned in the introduction, I enjoy interacting and doing research in an interdisciplinary environment, which really is about trying to understand, trying to take their perspective, and then together solving something that is that's a common objective between people that are collaborating. So that's fascinating to me, and that's again across culture, right? So we see each other's culture with respect. We respect each other's culture, but we flow together. And now on to the challenges as a South Asian. Of course, this is something that we all understand, and it's not something unique to me. So we live in a country as very, very far from India. Our parents are aging in India, and here we are raising our children in the United States by ourselves, which is frankly pretty unusual for the number of people that we are in the United States. However, the thing that keeps us going is the mutual support that we have between me and my husband. I could not have done this, the traversing between countries across the world. Uh, me and my husband, we take turns between us in spending time with our parents. It's not just when they get old that we spend time, but we want to spend time with them, and which is what we do. Spending time with them when they're cognitively able, when they're physically able. And so that is something that I don't call it a challenge. I call it an opportunity for us to grow old together. And something that is also a challenge in being a South Asia, like I say, as coming from a rich heritage, is how do we create such an environment for our children? Which is something that I struggle. Not, I used to struggle when I was in Illinois with a smaller community of Indians compared to what we have in New Jersey. And so that has been a culture shock for me. I'm just getting oriented and used to the novelty of a cultural attunement when we come to New Jersey. It's something that I want to get myself attuned to. So I don't want to call it a challenge, something as a personal difficulty, but nonetheless, I think it is something that we all contend with, and something that I'm sure has been alluded to, and I hope to hear or to talk more about it, as we discuss. Finally, this was a request by the organizers to talk about the advice for entry into AI. Well, AI is flowing like a river, right? Becoming richer, becoming mixed with many other rivers, other areas, other minerals. There might be toxic effluents coming into it. Whether we are aware or unaware of these things, this is reality. And it is time for us to become more aware than we were before. And clearly, this has given rise to several opportunities in multiple sub areas, be it computer vision, be it language processing, be it cross-lingual transfer. So much of natural language processing has been developed for English. And of course, we all come from a polylingual culture, such as India. And language technology has not been brought to the several languages that we speak in India. And so that is a big challenge, big research challenge. If that is of interest, I'm happy to talk to you. And so while I speak so many languages, I am itching to bring language technology to at least a few of the languages that I speak, at least from a research standpoint, if not to an application standpoint in the near future. And so that is something that I want to bring to our youngsters, saying, hey, you know what, there is a lot of opportunity in this very rich area of AI, whether it is computing, algorithm discovery, hardware, new networks, new and richer deep neural architectures, bringing language technology to newer languages, trying to understand the intricacies of languages. It's not just transferring one technology to the other. It has to be done in a culturally congruent manner. It's not enough for us to translate data sets from English to Hindi or Kannada or Tamil or Telugu. It has to be done in a way that the transfer is appropriate, the technology is appropriate to the milieu where it's going to be used. we have to find the right applications for our people to use these technologies. So we just cannot say just because there is AI and its applications in the United States, we need to bring them to India too, right? So there are, and it's not just India. There are multiple languages being spoken in other parts of the world where this richness needs to spread. And so here I am with this cross-lingual transfer and cross-lingual interest, another cultural aspect, right? As we all know, large language models suffer with adapting to a new culture. And we are especially people who have traversed these cultures are the ones that should be especially bent on, especially interested and invested in adapting large language models to new cultures. And with that, I would like to thank everybody for hosting this fantastic session. I'm truly privileged to share my journey, my short journey, but very interesting. I'm very proud of my journey, and I really look forward to whatever is, whatever lies in front of me. Thank you very much. And any questions or discussion points are welcome.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much. It's a unique combination of how a researcher interested in not just like multiple languages, but bringing that back into their active area of research and active area of profession. And it's very refreshing to see, to be very honest, like in this AI era where we see new applications popping out like every single day, to the point that it's been hard to keep track. Also understanding the research that goes behind the NLP and AI, and where it comes from. It's refreshing to know that. It's also amazing to know how your journey started from Venezuela, then to India, then coming to US. So you are almost, it's kind of like you're a two-time immigrant, if I may say, put it that way, right? It's great having you here, Dr. Suma. It's amazing to have you as a mentor, not just from a standpoint of being a professor of AI, but also from a standpoint of understanding the immigration and what it brought and how it shaped your journey in your life. Thank you for sharing that. We'll be taking Q&A. So if folks have questions, feel free to unmute yourself, come on camera, ask away, or if you want to type it in the chat, please go ahead and type in the chat. Any way is fine. Today is pretty informal and interactive by design. So we have a question. How do we get involved with your nonprofit? Sma, for you, I would love to be in the field of NLP.
Thank you. If it's involving with my nonprofit, please send me an email. I'll just put it here. Info at the research.org. Please send me an email and just mention my name and that you met me in Guwahati. We can follow up. I'll be happy to share ways in which you can be involved.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can we talk a little bit about, I'm curious myself, so I have one question. Could you give us a quick brief on DR research? I know you touched upon what it does, a little bit of like history and what it's doing currently.
Yeah, sure. This was a COVID project of ours. So it was a way for me and four other of my master's degree from IISc classmates to stay in touch. And then we said, some of their kids were high school kids at that time. They said, "Hey, Suma auntie, can you recruit me in your lab?" And I said, "You know what? This is a fantastic way for classmates to stay in touch. And why don't we create a platform, an opportunity for our own children to do research?" And that's how DR research was born. And very soon we found there are other kids who like to do that. So we said, okay, let's have more children, let's have more tracks. And then we had a bootcamp track where we do Python, We do data analytic parts of Python, which is pandas. We do visualization, and we take publicly available data sets, of which there are so many. And then we help kids in high school make sense of data. And this is what helps our kids turn a belief into a fact, right? So it's not, when you analyze data and you really visualize things, it really helps them understand the world around them better. Rather than just relying on hearsay, they actually see their world come alive, right? So we help them ask research questions of data. We help them, okay, how do you interpret the data that you have? It could be through simple things like scatter plots, trying to understand correlations, trying to understand that correlation is not causation, trying to understand the different factors in a linear regression. So all of these are just empowering them. And then we tell them, there are so many social questions, social problems that you can try to analyze a little bit and then think about solutions for that. It could be things that are in your school. It could be, at that point it was COVID, and looking at what is the impact of online learning on learning outcomes. There are many data sets on that, and students really like to analyze this, whether it is inequity in the society, whether it is homelessness, whether it is climate change. We help them ask research questions and analyze data sets to answer these research questions, which is a fantastic opportunity for them to just take their learning beyond what they see in the classroom.
That's so cool. So the primary audience for the nonprofit in terms of like folks who contribute in projects was founded from the perspective of involving high school students into these projects early on and giving them an opportunity to play around whatever their ideations would be, like, right? Create that into the fact. That's so amazing. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Exactly. And for us, it's a virtuous cycle too. I mean, not necessarily cycle, but our alumni then become their RTAs. So it's an opportunity for them to support our cause and then say, hey, you know what, I want to teach. And then these are kids who are doing very well after that. They enjoy doing a TA role. And they're not necessarily the lead TAs, but they'll be assisting our lead TAs who are graduate students. And so it's a really nice ecosystem where all of everyone who participates flourishes. So it's a wonderful opportunity that we create.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And those of you who are interested, whether it's for your own children or your friends' children, or for whatever reason, look at the summer offerings that we have. We have a host of programs. drresearch.org. You'll find more details there.
Thank you so much. Just sharing.
I had a question. Yeah. So I was always curious about like the say the ethical aspects of like AI plus language, right? Like the bias and the fairness that we have. Like does it get skewed like when say like the Google is doing NLP or like I know like all these big systems like the ChatGPT which is using language in so many forms, right? Do we
Yeah.
have like biases, say, towards Hindi, Sanskrit, or like Japanese, like all of this? Like, how do you view that? Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not sure if we have evidence bias against a language per se, but there is definitely bias against the speakers of a language.
Okay.
Like, for example, a Hindi speaker or a Japanese speaker, or even nationality.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when they query large language models on whether something is appropriate for a person of a country, for a person from a given country of origin, it can say yes, of course it's appropriate, and then you just modify the country of origin, and it says nope, that's not right, and it's traditionally favoring United States, citizens of the United States, and not so much for citizens of the other
Yeah.
country, which is a very, very bad thing, right? So morally, ethically,
Mm.
and there is very little cultural exposure. So if I talk about maybe dosa is okay, but if I talk about idiyappam or something that is
Yeah.
very
Lesser
culturally
known
specific,
foods. Yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't be able to generalize to these cultural artifacts of a country, primarily because of the representational scarcity. We don't have too many instances where instances in English that talks about idiyappam or the recipe or how it is tasty and things like that, right?
Mm.
How it is something that is rich and something very culturally specific, right? So the
Okay.
cultural grounding is largely missing in significant ways in large language models. And that is where much of the research is happening, much of the advances are uh, are being made today. So people are looking at many aspects of culture in what's lacking in today's large
Okay.
language
Is
models.
this also something their research does, like helping in Hindi, Sanskrit, like improving the natural language processing in these Indian
Not
languages?
yet, not yet. Our students are primarily from the United States. Our
Okay.
high school students from the United States. Although we did pilot one such data science unit in India, in Karnataka. But then the I don't want to call these market forces, but the curricular forces are very different in
Mm.
India compared to the United States. So that has prevented the broader proliferation compared to what's the interest that govern our activities in the United States. So I
Awesome.
think primarily I would like to say
Yeah.
that the programs are offered for our
English
United
speaking.
States kids, and
Yeah.
they're all online. So for us, it's been very easy to operate. We are all, the five founders are geographically located in diverse areas in the United States. And so it's easy for us to engage with the kids over the summer, especially sometimes when I'm traveling. And then for the kids, it's also easy. They come from, Arizona, Texas, Washington, California, New Jersey. And so all
Nice.
parts of the country, it's really fantastic for us to engage them.
Very interesting. Yeah. I think we have more questions from the audience in the chat. Surbi, do you? Okay.
You can carry on.
Okay. So there's one from Yash. So with the boom of NLP and LLMs, so he's curious to understand how it affects computer vision and image processing. And yeah, how is like, I think basically it's like visual and language. Like, what is the next big problem in computer vision and NLP, natural language processing?
Yes. So today we have vision language models, which is combining visual signals with with the language signal, right? So we have vision language models being trained, not just for images, not just for image and caption, but also videos, right? You can do video search. We can do video question answering, which is you ask a question of about something that happened in the video, and you can get that snippet. You can get an answer related to that snippet, that frame in the video. Of course, it's not perfect yet, but that's where the area is heading. And I'm not an expert in computer vision, but based on my readings, people are focusing on embodied cognition, right? So can a model look around itself and try to learn about the world around it? Making sense of the world around it, just the way humans learn about the world around them by not just speaking, but also seeing, right? So that seems to be the frontiers of AI. And of course, reasoning in the presence of all these signals, right? So there is speech, there is language, there is text, and then there is vision.
Mm.
Putting all of these together is what people are looking at
Very interesting.
a very, very high level, right? 30,000
Yeah.
feet level.
Hmm. I think one last question, which I'm sure everybody will be curious about, like say, I think this their research is a great thing for how kids can start learning AI, and so with this happening, so across the workforce, and a lot of the people right now here are professionals who want to start using AI and be up to date. So what are the simple projects that we could do, which is not too much, for us to start getting introduced to AI? And how you would recommend anyone who's working in a professional setting to make some time to learn more about AI itself?
Yeah, there are many resources today, right?
Yeah.
You can do no code options to do AI. So there are modules that you can just turn the crank. You give some input. Of course, you need to know what data you want to give. You can do. There are sentiment analyzing black boxes that you can just talk to or even type something into, and you can say, okay, give me the sentiment of this, of what I spoke, right? So you can do sentiment analysis. You can analyze reviews for positive, neutral, or negative. There are black box models for many of these aspects. The simple word clouds, right? They are very simple text analytic tools, and you can make sense of what is being highlighted in a large body of text just by looking at word clouds. So there are many ways in which you can take baby steps, and hopefully those things kindle our interests in AI, and that prompts us to learn further. And then you can move to the low code option. There are several blogs that give you the snippets. You can even ask ChatGPT to give you a small code snippets. Of course, if you're new to programming, that might be a challenge. But there are many blogs that give you a gentle introduction to programming in Python and then getting into AI.
Yeah.
And of course, you can get the deep dive through, again, there are many learning resources to get a deep dive into programming open source models, and then putting them together into doing something very useful, right?
Yeah.
People have startups and so on. So there's a natural progression, beginning with small baby steps of no code options to low code, and then finally deep dive code.
Got it. So can you recommend like a few resources for people to get into?
I don't have them handy now, but I'll be happy to follow through with some
And we
resources.
will add it in our newsletter if you can just share it.
I will.
Because I think this is something that's definitely everybody is very curious about. And if you can just add like some 5 resources that people can just get started with understanding what is NLP and this one. Yeah. A beginner's guide. Yeah. And Deepti, we can't hear you. Yeah.
Sadhya, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, I think we can do one last one. Yeah.
Okay. Suma, thank you so much for walking through the journey. It's amazing to know how you kind of connected your life experiences with actual career choices and, applying now into LLMs and AI. You mentioned something about how AI is actually like flowing like a river and adding minerals, but at the same time, it can muddy the water. I would love to know what all, maybe if you could give us a high level about where do you think or what's your perspective about how can it muddy the water or how can it be a curse? Yeah.
Well, the toxicity, I think you've heard about this already, right? That generative AI has one of its weaknesses is that it doesn't know how to say, I don't know, right? So by its very nature of generation, which is a probabilistic nature, right? So it's trained to predict the next word. And by that very virtue, it has to generate a word with a non-zero probability, all right? And because of that, and then combining with all the parameter mixing that happens, it tends to hallucinate. And what do I mean by hallucination? That means there's a question for which it doesn't know the answer, but it just creates an answer. And the confidence with which it gives the answer makes someone believe that that is the answer, which it is not in many instances, it's not. And so depending on who is asking the answer, asking the question, the answer can be misguided, right? So that is one. The second is the toxicity. Of course, much of it has been pruned, has been cleaned by now with guardrails and with the specific post-training algorithms. There is less toxicity, but then people still observe these things come to the fore when you play a large language model with a specific persona. So let's say you ask it to behave like a journalist. Very soon it starts spewing, toxicity. And so there is toxicity in the generative aspect of language, which is unfortunate. But then people are really working on that, and that is to a large extent also part of the data set that was fed into the large language models. Of course, today there are large language models where the data is clean. And even then there are these other aspects of sycophancy, which is a model not being trustworthy. So sometimes, let's say you ask it to become like a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
It acts like a counselor when you ask a question, but very soon it acts like a peer. So it doesn't hold on to the persona in a sustained and consistent manner.
Got it.
And so you can't expect it to be a trustworthy counselor all along a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a bad thing.
Okay.
So again, people are observing all of these things in multiple applications and research settings. And so it's not really ready for prime time, real-time applications in diverse settings, not at all.
That's very
And
interesting because if I work for a company where we do mobility data insights, and we are trying to use this AI models to kind of predict traffic and then crashes and incidents, and knowing that AI may not be always right? And we are providing this data to millions of people too, right? So knowing that there could be errors in the data, or it may not be predicting the data as it needs to, it's interesting to know how careful we should be or cautious we should be when utilizing this and applying it, 100% without curation.
yeah, and as fathers of AI, Nobel Prize winning scientists have predicted. Right now, it's good as a human, as a tool that augments human ability, but it's not ready for autonomy yet.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely much more research to be done before we can deploy it autonomously.
Thank you so much. That was super helpful.
No problem. You're welcome.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hey, Suma, thank you so much again. Just a quick context beyond how we reached out to Suma and how quickly she was on board when she heard the resilience concept behind Vahati's mission. We reached out to Suma fairly recently when we found out, hey, we have one of our own diaspora leaders in the education industry, so close to NLP and AI research. And she is currently in India. So she joined, it's almost midnight your time, and I really appreciate that you decided to join us. She made this effort because she understood Bhati's resilience mission in about 5 minutes, and she was like, yes, I'm on board. Please let me know when do I come in, and I'd be happy to guide people who join Bhati. So thank you once again. It really means a lot to us. And with that being said, we'll stay in touch. I'm also going to include the information about Diya research in our upcoming newsletter, so folks who are interested can reach out to you. Thank you, Suma.
Thank you. Awesome.